This is video 9.3b on factoring trinomials and solving equations. So I'm going to start with example 5, that's on page 491, which just says to solve the equation. The equation given is x squared plus 5x equals 6. So in this whole rest of this chapter, whenever it says solve and there is that equal sign, we're going to follow the steps of solving an equation. So step 1, get it equal to 0. So I need to have a 0 on the right hand side of the equal sign, so I'm going to subtract 6. When I subtract 6 on the left, there's no like terms, so I just write out x squared plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. Step 2 of solving an equation is to factor. So the first type of factoring I will always try is GCF. In this problem, I don't see a GCF. I can't do grouping because there are only 3 terms, not 4. So because there are 3 terms, I'm going to factor a trinomial, which means I'm going to do product and sum. I know I'm going to factor it into the 2 binomials. I know they're both going to start with x, and now I'm going to do the product and sum. So the product of the 2 numbers has to be negative 6, and the sum of those same 2 numbers has to be positive 5. So 6 and 1 will give me negative 6, and 6 and 1 could also give me 5. One of them will have to be negative. So it's going to be a positive 6 plus a negative 1 to give me a positive 5. And 6 times negative 1 does give me that negative 6. So it's minus 1 and plus 6. Now at this point, we're going to step 3, which says to separate and set each part equal to 0. Set each part equal to 0. So this is where I make a separation where the parentheses are. I separate it into 2 equations. First one is x minus 1 equals 0. The second equation is x plus 6 equals 0. And I'm on step 4, where I'm going to solve each equation. So I'm adding 1 and getting x equals 1 for my first equation, subtracting 6, and getting x equals negative 6 for the second. Step 5, put the answer into braces. I have negative 6 and positive 1. And this is done. Now, there is a check for this. You can take this to the original equation. So I'm going to give that a try. The positive 1 and the negative 6. So to finish this problem, I'm going to do the check of our 2 answers, positive 1 and negative 6. So what it means is I'm going to put positive 1 into the equation wherever there's an x and see if my equation comes out equal. So that'd be 1 squared plus 5 times 1 equals 6, which is 1 plus 5 equals 6, 6 equals 6, and this one checks. For the second one, again, this time I have to put in negative 6. So I have negative 6 squared plus 5 times negative 6 equals 6. Negative 6 squared is negative 6 times negative 6, which comes out positive 36, minus 30 equals 6. 6 equals 6, they both check, so we can keep the answers that we got, negative 6 and positive 1. Okay, this is the point where I'm going to give you many more examples, and this is the point where I want you to follow my directions and actually put it on pause and try to do the problems. Right now, you have all the information about solving equations and about factoring trinomials. So let's give it a go. So the first problem, n squared plus 7n plus 6 equals 0. Put it on pause and see if you can solve this whole equation. So to solve, step 1, setting it equal to 0, is already done. Step 2 is to factor. So this is a trinomial. Well, I'm looking for a GCF. There isn't one. So I'm going to factor it as a trinomial. It's going to have an n and an n equals 0. And I have to do product and sum. So the product of the two numbers is 6. The sum is 7. The numbers are going to be 6 and 1 because 6 plus 1 equals 7. So that's a positive 6, positive 1. Step 3, set each part equal to 0. So this is where I divide it here. I have n plus 6 equals 0, and I have n plus 1 equals 0. Step 4 is to solve each part. Minus 6, minus 6. And I have n equals negative 6. Oops, I'm sorry, this side is minus 1. And n equals negative 1. So step 5, put the answers in braces. Negative 6, comma, negative 1. That problem's done. Try this problem. Again, the directions keep for all of these just say to solve. So we go through the steps. Step 1, equal to 0. So to get this one equal to 0, I'm going to add 10y to both sides. I would get y squared plus 9 plus 10y equals 0. At this point, I'm on step 2, which tells me to factor, and I do not have a GCF, and so I'm going to factor a trinomial. However, it's not in the right order to factor the trinomial, so I'm just going to rearrange it. Y squared plus 10y plus 9 equals 0. Now I'm ready to factor with product sum. Product is 9. The sum is 10. The numbers are 9 and 1. So it's going to factor to two binomials. Plus 9 plus 1. I am on step 3 where I have to set each part equal to 0. Divide it down the middle. Y plus 9 equals 0. Y plus 1 equals 0. Subtract. Y equals negative 9. Y equals negative 1. Put the answer into braces. And that one's done. Okay, we'll do just one more. Oops, might help if I spell right. You're again going to solve this. Put it on pause and do what you can. Step 1 is to set equal to 0. I'm subtracting 7d. I get d squared minus 3d minus 7d equals 0. Step 2 is to factor. There's no GCF, there are 3, so I'm factoring a trinomial. I have d and I have d, and I need my product sum. The product of the two numbers is negative 70. The sum of the numbers is 3. So I start thinking about the things that multiply to be 70. 7 times 10 is going to work. It's got to come out to be negative 70 and a positive 3. So if I did negative 70 plus 7, that would give me a negative 3. If I did negative 7 plus 10, that will give me a 3. So negative 7 times 10 minus 7 plus 10 equals 0. I just realized I'd made another mistake, that it has to come out to be negative 3. The 3 is actually negative, not positive. So the two numbers have to add to be negative 3. So I'm going to go back to the negative 10 plus 7, which will give me a negative 3, and negative 10 times 7. So this is a plus, and this one is a minus. D plus 7 and D minus 10 equals 0. Fix that. And now I am at step 3, where I'm setting each part equal to 0. So I have D plus 7 equals 0, D minus 10 equals 0, subtract 7, add 10. These are my two answers. Put them into braces. And that's it.